So, welcome back to the Kids to Love podcast. And this time we wanted to do something a little bit different. We recently asked you on our social media channels, what questions do you have for us? We get bombarded with questions all the time, and a lot of them are consistent questions. And so we thought, well, what if we just take some time and answer those? So, I have got 2 pages of questions, and I may throw in some others that didn't make the list, just depending on how long this goes. But our goal in this is to answer questions, kind of pull back the curtain a little bit, as we like to do with this podcast, to just be very upfront and transparent of how we serve and why we serve. So one of the first questions we got, which I thought was very interesting, I would love to know how you came up with the name Kids to Love, how it came to be, and what that process was like. So in 1998, we started profiling children on Channel 48, children who were living in foster care that needed forever families. And it started actually November of that year as a sweeps piece. November is Adoption Awareness Month. It's also a ratings period in television news. And so there was a story I was doing about a young man named Sherman, and he said in that interview, I don't know why anyone won't love me. And that was just such a poignant statement in his words. So the series actually started, Why Won't Anyone Love Me? And so after we went from the one special for the sweeps piece, the November awareness piece, and we wanted to make it more of an ongoing series, the marketing director at the time at Channel 48, her name was Judy Cornelius, and we were all in the conference room at Channel 48 trying to come up with a name that would be something that we could call this weekly segment. And she's the one that came up with Kids to Love. And everybody at the table, we just felt like that's it, the simplicity of it, but it's also a call to action. So we started that in 98, and then in 2004, when we started the foundation, I thought, why not just keep it Kids to Love? Because at that point, we had some momentum going and some notoriety of the name, which was a great thing to have to start a nonprofit organization. So the late Judy Cornelius actually came up with that name, which was a lesson to me: surround yourself with greatness, and they will always make you better. Another question: how does Kids to Love include the voices of the children or young adults that they're serving when shaping programs and placements? So this is something that we are very intentional about. When we opened Davidson Farms, we got that property in 2015, and it took us 2 years to get it renovated and licensed to open in 2017. And in that time, I went back to a bunch of our Kids to Love alumni, a lot of our former scholarship recipients, and people that had grown up in the system, that had had challenges, each and every one of them in their own right, whether it be with birth family or struggles of placements. And so I asked them, I said, if we were to create a program that was different, that was better, what did you need when you were a child in care? And those young people they were very upfront and transparent, and that was a big part of us designing and shaping how we serve kids in care. And we still to this day use that really as our rubric of designing things. A lot of people don't understand why we do things. A lot of it is also people need to understand that experience is also a great teacher. There have been a lot of rules at the farm that we've had to put in place that were results of lessons learned. And so everything we do is very intentional, and it is with meeting that child's need and meeting them where they are. Another question: what is something you wish every foster or adopted parent knew before starting the journey? It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. The great thing when our families walk that journey, when we get to walk that journey with our families, when they foster or adopt with us, they're not alone. And that was really why we built our child placing agency the way that we did, is so we could have those wraparound services, because so many times foster parents feel unheard, unsupported, and we wanted to make sure that this was a safe place that they felt heard, valued, listened, and also supported. So they'll continue to answer that call to foster and adopt if it's in the best interest. Does Kids to Love offer programs specifically for those in foster care that have aged out or are about to. Absolutely, we do. Our KTECH program was specifically designed to teach the young people that are aging out of foster care a skill set. A statistic that I like to share consistently is between 75 and 80% of members of the juvenile justice system or prison system were former foster children. And that really was what drove us to start KTECH, because foster care is a pipeline to prison, and we wanted to break that pipeline. So KTECH for us is a workforce training initiative to teach workforce skill sets so our young people can get skills and they can go to work. We think that that is critical. Our cottages through the Whitaker Cottage community at Davidson Farms is another out-of-the-box approach of how we're meeting needs of young people that are aging out, providing housing. In that, we also have transportation that we support with, mental health services. So there are several things that we're doing that are the wraparound services trying to specifically target that aging out demographic. How can we form an advocacy group to effectively lobby in the state for foster and adoptive reform? It's too hard to terminate rights in these courts, although abandonment statute is only 6 months no contact. So this absolutely needs to happen, but this is not a one and done. When you're looking at this issue, there's the law, and of course the law trumps policy every day, but there's also policy that is in place. And so my recommendation to appropriately advocate for this is to make sure that you are working in tandem with your guardian ad litems and your GALs. They know the law, and they're there to advocate. So I know that judges don't take TPR lightly. To terminate a parent's right to be a parent it's a hard decision. So my encouragement would be work through GALs, know the law yourself so you can advocate. I'd love to know if you ever have any volunteer opportunities at the girls' home. I live just down the road and have wondered about volunteering. So I got to tell you, this is a tricky one for us. And I kind of want to paint a scenario before I answer the question. You're a parent, and you have a complete stranger that wants to come pick up your children and take them to a movie. Would you do it? Probably not. So we provide a home for our kids. And while we do need volunteers, and there are other ways that you can plug in, a lot of times it's just you have to look at it at the point of view of where that child sees it. It's a stranger coming in. We do have volunteer groups that come out, and, we had volunteers recently put up fencing for a second fence at Davidson Farms for a second pasture to support equine. They came back and they did a gate. We'll have some people come and clean off fence rows, things like that. We are just very protective of our girls that live there. And the reason we're there, we're that way for several reasons. But the biggest thing is their life has just been filled with people who are inconsistent and quit on them. And we don't want that to happen again. So there aren't a lot of opportunities. It would be a rare case to directly volunteer with our girls. Let me say this, one of the ways that we have utilized volunteers would be a meal train of helping to provide meals there to support Shiloh, our house mom. Another way would be through tutors. So we have had tutors come to the farm and help our girls academically. And to do that, we run background checks to make sure that they are safe for our girls to be around. So there are some volunteering opportunities, but we're just real protective. So that gets us to ways that you can plug in, because as a nonprofit, it is imperative that we have volunteers support us. And I look at that as 3 major initiatives we have during the year that we would love to plug you in. And the first one is school supplies. We'll do close to 6,000 backpacks every year that are distributed across 4 states. That takes a lot of hands. That's a lot of bags that are sorted and packed, logistics to deliver. We have to have volunteers for that to be successful. Our biggest outreach, of course, is Christmas, and we couldn't do that without volunteers. And then another way that we utilize volunteers is our Over the Edge event that we have the third weekend of September, where we, on purpose, scale the Regions building downtown. It takes a lot of hands to make that happen. So we do have volunteer days open for the warehouse now, and that's available at kidstolove.org. So go check that out. We have a warehouse that is stocked and always in operation because we do emergency assistance with children coming into foster care, supporting children through birthdays if needed. So there's a lot of ways to get involved. But if you go to our website, you'll see the link and get information on days and times to volunteer. And please volunteer there because we need you. I feel called to foster, but I have 3 young children, and I'm worried about how emotionally hard it could be for them when they become attached and then the child is reunified. Do you have any advice on navigating that? It's going to be hard. I think that is a family by family decision. What I would encourage you to do is come to one of our upcoming question and answer meetings that we have ahead of our TIPS class, which is the required foster parenting training that is now switching over to MAPS. So if you hear TIPS or MAPS, that's what that is for. But it's a family decision, and nobody can make that for you and your family. I would say if this is something you feel called to do, you can have that conversation with your family, but there's a majority of the times that the children will not be there long-term. Foster care is a temporary solution, and the goal is always reunification if that's in the best interest of a child. So again, from page 1, what advice would you have that you wish every parent knew before starting the journey? It's going to be hard. But I also want to encourage you that it is probably one of the most rewarding things that you'll ever do. Why is it so hard and expensive to adopt a child so people have to leave the country to get a child? Adoption is expensive. I don't think it needs to be as expensive as it is in some places. That really is an agency by agency decision, but it's expenses based on what the agency's expenses are. So for us, there are costs associated, there are home studies, there are legal fees, but we have tried to be very reasonable in our efforts to make adoption financially obtainable, and our fees are less than $20,000. Now, with that said, we have 10 families that are kind of in the queue with our adoption, and we have a long waiting list to even get on the list, but we try to be very upfront with people to say, okay, and we set that number. So when we get to 10 families, we're closing the list. 2 years ago, we had 7 adoptions. Last year, we had 3 adoptions. We don't have a surplus of babies. No one does. We're not Amazon, so we just kind of don't know year to year what that looks like. But and I think that's probably a driver for some families. It's also going to be a situation of, do they want an older child or do they want an infant? A lot of times if they want an infant, then going internationally is a way to guarantee that. And for some families, resources isn't a barrier to adoption. And so they can travel and get the child that they need. But we are trying to make adoption affordable, but it may be a little slower process. And it's a case-by-case basis. Ooh, this next question, are we really going to ask this one? It says, what is going on with you all in DHR? So, we filed a restraining order several years ago because our children were being moved, and we weren't given a reason why, a valid reason why. So the restraining order then led into a lawsuit. We settled that lawsuit last year, and what that essentially lets us do, our license were never impacted. We still operate programs, deficiency-free, which is our goal of serving with excellence that Kids to Love approaches with. And we have successfully privatized foster care, and that was really our goal in that lawsuit, to be able to do that. So now we have court systems that are placing children with us directly. We have parents that are placing children with us directly when they're not able to take care of the children. It may be a season, or it may be a mom that placed her baby with us and wanted to meet our foster family and asked them, if I can't get my life together, will you adopt them? And our foster family said yes, and that actually happened last summer. So we're still serving. We got our relicensure in December. We currently do not have any children that are in our care that are with DHR, and we're just continuing to serve children, and we are glad that that is over, and didn't really slow our roll. What different programs do you have? So I would really encourage you to go to kidstolove.org and dig into that website. More Than a Backpack, Christmas for the Kids, our scholarship program. We've awarded more than $1 million in college scholarships to young people who are working to break the cycle of poverty through education. We have KTECH. We have Davidson Farms, which is our home for girls ages 7 to 19 that live with us full time. Our cottages, which is usually 20 to 25, and that's that aging out demographic for young ladies. We have our Smith Family Wellness Center and Trauma Therapy, which is a program that is just, we moved into our new facility last year, but this has been something that we've been doing now for about 3 or 4 years. And then we also have our child placing agency, private adoption, private foster care. We have an international meth tip line trying to rescue children out of dangerous homes where meth is present. So what we say is that we've created an ecosystem that wherever a child is in the foster care system, that there is a program and plan in place to meet them where they are, where they can successfully navigate the heart of foster care. And so all of our programs are designed to help be a part of that strong ecosystem to serve kids directly. Do you do foster care in Tennessee? So we are a licensed child placing agency in the state of Tennessee, currently are providing adoption services there. We have recently added foster care to our license, but right now we are not actively recruiting, training, or placing foster care in the state of Tennessee. We do have some things on the horizon that we're wanting to launch in the state of Tennessee, and being able to get the licensure where we can do foster care was a piece of in that process. So we are licensed to do foster care in Tennessee, but we are not actively up and doing that just yet. So stay tuned. Do y'all take used donations? This is a very frequent question that we're asked. We don't, because we don't have enough room to store them. We also don't want to duplicate services. So if you have clothes that your kids have outgrown, ungrown, whatever you want to say, and they still have life in them, if they're children's clothes, we always recommend the North Alabama Foster Closet, because that's a great resource to our families, and they do take used clothes. If you are a professional and you're trying to clean out that closet, we always refer people to Christian Women's Job Corps. They have a local coat closet here. If we ever need those for kids that we serve or KTECH students, we always have access to them. If we get used things, and some people donate used things, and if we get them and it's something that we can't use, then a lot of times we'll send that on to the Downtown Rescue Mission, where they can utilize that in the thrift store. We've got a strong partnership with the Downtown Rescue Mission. Every class for KTECH we have students from the Downtown Rescue Mission there. So for us, it's just part of that community partnership that we have. Do you all see adult clients in the Mental Wellness Center? We do. So we are licensed through the Department of Mental Health to serve children. But based on the credentials that our team has, we are able to see adults here. And so we do that. It can be insurance, it can be private pay. And thanks to resources through probate judge Frank Barger, we do have a scholarship fund available. So we'd want you to know that Money, resources should never be a barrier for you to reach out and seek mental health services. We are trauma focused, but if you've got a need, we would love to talk to you. I do think it's important for us to note that we're not a crisis center. So if you find yourself in a crisis or you have a family member that is in the middle of a suicidal ideation, we recommend you call 911. There are other resources in town that are more residential programs for mental health diagnosis. That's not what we do. We serve clients when they are stable and regulated and ready to work on the trauma that they've experienced. And of course, every child in foster care has their own baggage of trauma, that's for sure. Do you have to be in foster care to be seen at the Mental Wellness Center? You don't. So 2 programs that we have that are all open to the general public is KTECH. We will train anyone that needs those skills, and our Mental Wellness Center. So while we are trauma focused, because the majority of kids we serve do experience trauma, we're not limited to just the kids that are in foster care, although that's a big part of our client base, I guess you could say. So there is a website that we have called hopefortrauma.org, and we're just encouraging if you or someone you know need mental health support, you can go to that website, fill out a form, and we'll call you. We are doing some amazing partnerships locally. We're working with Huntsville Police Department to provide trauma therapy and emergency services to their first responders, and looking at growing that footprint a little bit further. So a couple of questions that didn't make the list that I wanted to just throw in here. A big question I get asked all the time is how to start a nonprofit. And my first answer is don't, because it's hard. But realistically, what I would say is if you feel called to do something, look around and see if there's anybody already doing it in our community. We have a very blessed community, but there are a lot of nonprofits. And I just want to tell you that the funding is not as readily available, I think, as people think. Our team works real hard, and it's all about relationships. How do you raise the funds? You build relationships. That's the key and the cornerstone to how we do what we do. But I would encourage you to see who in your community is doing what, and can you collaborate and join forces, because you should strengthen the resolve of how they're serving. And to bring that on and to add more people is never a bad thing. Another question I get asked personally all the time is, do you miss the news? And I'm like, are you kidding? I used to have to get up at 3 a.m. No, I don't. I miss the people, but I still keep in contact with them. And I love how I just kind of want to bring us to a close on that, because the first question really started with the news, and I wanted to end it with that as well. But we appreciate you guys watching our podcast. If you have any additional questions that you'd like to ask, please don't hesitate to reach out. Kids2Love.org is a great website to learn about the programs, get involved with volunteers, to find out more, and see how you can make a difference in the life of a child. So thanks for joining us for this episode. I hope that it sheds some light on some questions and answers that we get asked a lot. And if you have any more for us, don't hesitate to reach out. We'll see you back next time.